Hello, happy Sunday. Tomorrow's Labor Day, and so I have a little bit of time before I have to head out to talk about what I've been doing. So starting off, sliding door locking mechanism. The client wanted me to swap out the keyed part, which was on the outside, to the inside, I think to prevent the sun, his little son, from being able to go outside or something. Unfortunately though, the pin that locks and unlocks the cylinder was actually too short. The side that I screwed onto and the other opposite end that I screwed onto the door, it wasn't an equal gap, and so the pin was too short. If I swapped it around, it wouldn't engage, and so I wasn't able to do that for them. But it reminded me of another time where a TaskRabbit client hired me to retrieve the lock set that's in a sliding door. And because they had to unscrew something for some reason, and that whole lock set just dropped to the bottom of the sliding door, and they've taken it out, swing the door around to see if they could retrieve it, and then somehow screw it and lock it in place. They did all those things, weren't able to. I got there and I was like, maybe there is a way. There was some kind of, I obviously was not able to do it, so I didn't charge them for anything, but I just feel like, to whoever, I know this won't reach them, but I think it's ridiculous that if you unscrew those two screws and that locking mechanism could actually drop to the bottom of the door. It's so hard to retrieve it unless you cut open the plastic part that holds the door and holds the glass in place. Maybe there is another way to do it, but if there isn't and it has to be done at the manufacturer or done by a machine, I think that's incredibly inefficient. Anything that is screwed onto something should be able to be maintained. Maybe there's another way. You guys let me know. Here's a picture of Sugar with some wheels, and I have this Tough Built largemouth rolling tool bag, and I've had it since 2021, I believe, or maybe it was 2020. And it was about $100, and I really like it because with it closed, I can put my Gorilla extension ladder up on the top and roll my bag and my ladder at the same time to a client's house, unless they have stairs. But regardless, that was the whole perk for me with that bag. There was a metal cylinder of some sort within the wheel that houses the ball bearings that allows the wheels to smoothly roll, and the metal housing part actually got loose, and I tried to tighten whatever I could see, but there was just no way to really fix it. And so I contacted Tough Built. It's obviously been three years, maybe 4 years since I purchased it, but I have all my receipts for everything, so I contacted them. They asked for a receipt. I didn't ever register the tool bag for warranty or whatever, so just by providing a receipt and letting them know what happened and that I really love the bag, what can I do, where can I purchase wheels, whatever, they sent me wheels for free, and I have since replaced it, and it doesn't wobble. And the thing that it still would roll, it allowed the wheels to wobble so much so that the plastic wobbling against metal was just so loud. It was so annoying, and that's why I contacted them. So the client's tenant ironed a shirt. Third chunk of the table had these diamond shaped heat marks all over it. I looked up what I could do to get rid of those marks, and people were saying you can remove heat marks with heat. So I saw a woman putting a blow dryer directly against it for 10 minutes, and then it actually went away that way, or baking soda, whatever. I think I tried it with one part, and maybe it made the heat marks fade just a little bit, but I was if I have to do this entire third of the table and put my blow dryer the whole time over it, I'm just that's not an efficient use of my time or the client's time. And so what I ended up doing was sanding it down that I could no longer really see the white marks, just sanding the lacquer so that everything is kind of all white, and then consistently wiping off the dust, and then seeing that I could no longer see the white anymore, or see the diamond shaped anymore. And after that, I used a polyurethane blend wood stain in like brown black. And as you can see, you don't see the diamond shapes at all. And that wood stain was shiny enough that it matched the rest of it. I actually blended it into the other 2/3 of the table to just kind of like make the entire thing the same color. I got hired to build a ceiling for a commercial client of mine. So they have like a storage space that's like 12 feet by 12 feet, and they've already built the walls for it, but it didn't have the ceiling. So I was like, okay, well, that's not something I do. But they were like, well, you could just cover it with plywood because we just don't want dust to get into the storage area. And so I had the client order 4x8 plywood sheets, and I could carry a 4x8 plywood sheet just like one at a time up the stairs just fine. But in the middle of this like storage ceiling area, there's that brown metal wall that goes right through the storage area. And so I had to cut these 4x8 pieces. I think like the 4 feet was fine, but 78 inches instead of 96. So I cut it first, and then I was gonna lug it up the ladder and like, you know, flip it on top of the wall. I also used 2x4s that I could also screw it onto, not just the side of the wall or top of the walls. For the first like 78 inches by 4 feet plywood sheet, I had trouble picking that up with one hand as I climbed up the ladder. And so I was like, okay, well, let's just make it easier for myself. I'll cut it in half. But it was just like taking so long, it felt like. And then I also didn't like to see the gap between the two sheets. And so for the second piece, I was like, I'm just gonna, if I can carry a 4x8 piece with two hands by myself and it didn't feel that heavy, I should be able to carry one where I cut off a little piece of it. It's just like very awkward, but I was able to get the other 3 pieces up without cutting it in half. So I'm really proud of myself that I was able to do that, honestly, because it was not the easiest thing. Like, it's not rocket science that I'm doing, but it was just like physically it just was a lot. You can see all the dust flying in the video footage, and I had no idea, but I was like coughing and sneezing, and it was just so I've installed door closers in the past, and this particular brand had the clearest instructions. I kept breaking drill bits left and right that were supposed to be for drilling into metal. I didn't have enough downward force on it, and I also was going way too fast. Like you should see the spiral of the metal coming off as you push down. Shortly after that, I worked for a preschool, and they wanted me to install these metal guards onto this metal like bar fence that they had. And so using those techniques, it went so much faster, so much more seamless. And I'm like kind of angry at myself for not doing research beforehand, because I think I would have prevented breaking so many of my drill bits. But hinges, I have like another hinge job coming up too, and I was just like wondering, do you like cabinet makers? Can they look at hinges and know exactly what the degree opening is? Or like what the overlay is? Every time I have to replace a hinge or something, I have to take it off and take it to the store. So is there like an easy way to figure out like what the angles are just by looking at it? I don't know. This is footage of another bifold door that I fixed. I just happen to have extra bottom pivot for it. In contrast to that, like, I know this looks awful and so crazy, but this is what I had to do to get the job done quickly. It was for an Airbnb, and the new guests were coming soon, like the next day or something. And so it was just like, it had to be done that day. And the hole for the bifold door was just so big that the bottom pivot was actually just like floating around in there. And so to kind of hold it in place, I used 3 washers to hold the bottom pivot straight. And it worked, you know? This is me trying out McLendon's with sugar. Not a fan.
That baby is gonna go to a hardware store.
I asked somebody where I can find a center punch, and they said that's a tool.
Like, no shit. I'm not a fan of this place.
It's like a really shoddy job, it looks like. The patching, I did my best. I don't get this all the time, but I get it enough where I think it's just so funny. Like, you have paint, white paint on your walls, right? You think any white paint will match. Any like base paint, like, you know, standard white paint at Home Depot you could just get, and then maybe it'll match. Like, I tell my clients that if you want me to paint something, like touch up something, you have to have the matching paint on site, because if it doesn't match, that's not my fault, you know what I mean? And so this client wanted me to patch up the drywall that got scratched up by a pet, and so I did that, added the texture, and then I was like, if you want me to paint over the patch, you have to have the matching paint on site. I don't do color matching services. And another thing is, like, Sherwin-Williams, Benjamin Moore, whoever, like, it's hard for them even to completely match. Like, they can get as close to it, but I don't want that liability on me, and so I don't even want to deal with that. You guys get the paint, you have it on the property. For this incident, my client was like, oh, just use any white paint if you have it, we don't have the paint. And I was like, I do have like a white paint, just, you know, like hanging around. I bought like a sample size to do like touch-ups on like furniture assembly jobs or something. And she was like, oh yeah, it's fine, we're not gonna really see it, just use the whatever paint, white paint that you have. And I said, it's not gonna match, but okay. And so that's how it came out to be. You really can tell the difference between the color that I have and the white color that they have. Caulking, by the way, with these long ass nails is like very difficult. I have tools to, you know, smooth out the corners and whatever, but this particular caulk was so freaking sticky. Like, I have no idea how you're supposed to tool the product after you apply it. Like, it just sticks to everything. Like I guess maybe Windex would have been a little bit better, but yeah, I don't know. Like, it just got everywhere, and it was so awful to work with. Yeah, if you guys have any tips on how you can smooth out and tool this kind of caulking, let me know. I work for a realtor that was about to put a listing on the market, and one of the things that the home inspector put on the report was that the receptacle was loose and the outlet cover was missing a bottom screw. Whoever installed this vanity didn't cut the receptacle opening big enough to accommodate for the screw to screw onto the bottom part. And because of that little screw at the bottom, even though it was already so short, I had to cut it. I had to saw it off so that you could still at least see the second screw. And then tighten the receptacle was not very difficult. It was just like, I don't know why that was loose, but anyway. And that brings me to the last thing, the art show that I went to. You know, as a handywoman, I go into strangers' homes and I look at people's art, or like, I'm not like openly just like looking for that as I go into their house, but you know, I have the opportunity to look at how people design their homes. And something that I've been looking for, that I've been inspired by, is like a nice, like large, proportional to the couch that you have, like a nice, like relaxing art. And these were my favorite 4 pieces. Like, this blue just feels very calming, and I kind of like that cool tone, like oceany vibes. And then I don't know why I really like these so much, because it's not really my style, but like with the tiger in the middle, like if I had that over the couch, tiger one is the one that I really gravitated towards, like all the colors in the tiger. And then I love this peacock one also, like feels like I'm by the ocean and I could smell the ocean air kind of picture. So anyway, that was my inspo, and I think that's pretty much it for this video.